Hi, Melody here. You might know me as ApplePie Movement. I am a humanitarian sharing the stories of humanity which need to be heard. In today's ApplePie Table Talk with Yuri Williams, the founder of Future Superhero, we are discussing how Yuri is working on the front lines of COVID-19 to offer groceries and hope to the Los Angeles community. Ellen, we're calling you out for some of that Cheerios money because this is a man who needs a hand up to continue offering a hand up to some of the most vulnerable members of the Los Angeles community. So grab a piece of pie, come on, join our table talk. Another ApplePie Table Talk. Today we are interviewing Yuri, the founder of a Future Superhero, aka Spider-Man. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I heard from one of my friends that you are on the front lines of this epidemic, going out as a warrior and superhero, delivering formula to mothers in need. And how did you come up with this idea?
I've always been like a giving person because of my mom. I lost her in 2009, and then I was in like a 5-year period of just darkness, you know, like I could be talking to you like this and then go home and be balling. And then one day I just came up with an idea like, you know, I gotta snap out of this, you know. So the first thing I did was I always liked Marvel comic book characters, and I always liked Spider-Man. You know, I grew up on Mr. Rogers and reading Rainbow and all that stuff. And being like a kid, I'm always playing around and messing around and always acting like a kid, a 43-year-old kid, you know, that's what they call me. But I came up with the idea to dress up as Spider-Man at a 5K walk, and went around the whole place, and the kids loved it and fell in love with it. And there I met a family, which I started with. Their son had brain cancer, and I was able to build a relationship with his family and take him different places before he, you know, was laid to rest. And that's where it all began.
So was he a big fan of Spider-Man, or?
Oh yeah, he loved it. I mean, his face just lit up when it was his wheelchair, and he saw me, and from that point on, I just knew this was my calling, you know. And I've been just doing whatever I can to uplift people's spirits from that day until now.
And you're on the front lines right now with COVID-19. Aren't you at all concerned? So many people are concerned about contracting the virus, yet you're going out and helping people in some of the areas that could be hotspots.
Yeah, I mean, my immune system is pretty strong. I just leave it in God's hands. If it's my time to go, then it's my time to go. You know, like, I'm a peace officer on duty and off duty, so it's my duty to make sure that other people are not down. So I'm here to lift people up.
That's beautiful. So what would you say to some people? This quarantine is just a minor inconvenience in that they have to order in instead of being able to dine out, instead of being able to attend concerts and sporting events. They have to order pay-per-view at home. To those people, how can you explain the circumstances of the community that you're serving, of the working man who doesn't have maybe more than 1 or 2 weeks of groceries on hand, and now when they go to the stores, they're faced with standing in lines and with having quotas on how much they can buy, and they're not able to purchase all of the necessities for their family? How would you explain to them the circumstances of the rest of our population?
I mean, the best way I can say it is just imagine if, just be thankful for what you have, first off. You know, like, there are a lot of people out here that I visit that are homeless, been homeless and just struggling, and it's even worse on them now, you know. And then with people currently being unemployed, and if this thing doesn't open up sooner, you know, there's going to be, I hate to say it, but there's going to be a lot of more people that are going to become homeless and, you know, be living from couch to couch and just struggling to survive out here. You know, people need to use this time to be thankful for what they have. You know, now you'll be able to contact your family members when you're at home because you have nothing else to do. Now's the time to rekindle that relationship with somebody that you got beef with, or, you know, now's the time to sit at home and write those books that you want to write, and just, you know, free your mind right now. You know, it's a lot of negativity out there going on right now, but you have to find a positive in this negative situation.
And what would you speak to the people who now are at home and are unemployed and can't afford their rent necessarily, and the stay of action where you can't be evicted is basically a band-aid in that they have the rent deferred now for 6 months, but in November they're going to be facing eviction unless they can somehow come up with several hundred extra dollars a month to repay the deferred rent.
Right. I would just tell those people to keep the faith and be strong and try to. There are a couple jobs available that are hiring still, you know, like Amazon, and you know, I know people don't want to do that, but I mean, a job is a job at this point, and you have to do what you have to do to survive, you know.
Right, but if your rent is set at a certain X dollar that your lease is signed at, and the wage which it's being hired for is completely below that circumstance, you could be facing the situation where you attain full-time work and still end up evicted if you can't repay it.
Yeah, I mean, this state is just, the rent is high, like it's been high, it's going to keep getting high, you know, and just because of the circumstances that we're in, like you said, you know, these people are not going to be able to afford their rent when that time has come. And then, I don't know where they're going to go from that point on, but I mean, my thing is, you have to live, and there's no manual to this book of life, and we just have to do what we have to do every day to survive, you know?
Have you heard about the law that was recently passed for luxury developers in Los Angeles, that vacant units they are going to be taxed for now if they don't rent them out? Do you think if they were to lower their rents, that then it would give opportunity for more people to maybe move up into a better location, or for rents to be lowered across the board?
Yeah, you know, one thing with the rent thing, they need to lower it to the, just say you work at McDonald's and you're, what is it, was it $14 an hour now? They need to make it somehow. 12, okay. Yeah, they need to make it some kind of way where you can be able to survive and get what you need, the basic essentials, and pay your rent. You know, these people living check to check out here, you know, and these landlords, I mean, they're rich or wealthy already, you know, and just give the people a break here and there. You know, I'm sure they have a lot of money stacked up, stashed away. And I mean, with me, how much money do you need? You know, like, what about the people? Like, do these people, I know people really don't care about people like they should, they just want the money, but when your time is to go, you can't take this money with you, you know? So you need to learn to care for others, especially during this time of need, you know?
I completely agree and concur with that. From the research that I've completed, basically, in order to afford a studio apartment and a basic vehicle in Los Angeles, you need to earn a baseline of $27 an hour.
Wow.
Right, for a studio apartment. But I mean, that's Los Angeles. Our rents out here are crazy expensive. I don't know necessarily that landlords are going to lower the rent unless there is across the board competition, like the luxury, you know, apartment complexes lowering their rents. The corporations, that's where I kind of see, you know, if they were to pitch in, maybe if the government were to give them a tax incentive for lowering rents, and you know, because we definitely need to solve the situation somehow. I've noticed a lot of homeless people on the streets before the quarantine, and now it seems like they've almost all virtually disappeared from the streets. Where have they all gone?
They said they set up emergency shelters, and I mean, I've seen some of these so-called emergency shelters, and I mean, there's no social distancing really. I mean, you know, the people are wandering around and they're still gathered up, and I mean, it's just something I think they're doing to say that they did something. I mean, you can't knock them for trying to do something, but yet still, there's still a bunch of homeless people. I drive around now, like you said, you're driving around and it looks like the movie I Am Legend, because nobody's out there but cars, and then, you know, you see a couple of homeless people here and there, but I mean, when I've been going around, I've still seen the homeless people. Like, I go down to Skid Row, they're still there, you know, trying to wait for the shelter to open up to get housing. And it's just sad. And I hate to say, like I said earlier, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And I hate to be honest, but it is.
Oh, I agree, because come November, we're going to have a lot of homes foreclosed on. We're going to have a lot of deferred rent owed. We're going to have a huge crisis with the homeless population if somebody doesn't step in and intercede for this. What can people do who want to help? What are the needs of people on Skid Row right now?
I mean, the basic things I've been getting them are the mask. You can barely find hand sanitizer. I've been given hygiene kits, food, clothing, blankets, and, you know, just the basic essentials to survive, such as, you know, a tent also to cover themselves at night or whatnot. But this is what I mean by us. We are inconvenienced at the moment because we can't go to theaters and all that stuff. But these people on the streets can't even do social distancing properly because they're on top of each other, right next to each other, and they depend on each other every day. And you know, it's hard for them to understand what's going on because a lot of them really don't know what's going on, and a lot don't even have a radio or phone or anything to check the daily, you know, news to see what's going on to protect themselves. You know, that's the sad part.
Yeah. And from your interaction with them, are a lot of them working poor that lost their job and lost their housing, or are they mentally ill? What is the population out there?
You have a variety of everything. You have your mentally ill, you know, there's a lot of schizophrenia out there, autism's out there, your drug usage, your alcohol abuse, people that have been abused as a child, like even just like, you know, I say when my mom passed away, I was in a mental state just lost, and my major was psychology, and I had to get myself back in order, you know, because I could have ended up on the street because of the way my mind was wandering all the time, you know, and luckily I was able to catch myself and get myself back on track. But a lot of these people, there are a lot of good people out there, you know. I run into people that are artists, amazing pictures. I didn't believe them, but I would go check, and I look on Amazon and their name is there on the, you know, on the book and whatnot. And you have your doctors out there, you have lawyers, you have everything you can think of out on that street, you know, and people look at them like they're nothing. But at one time, they were, you know, a productive person in this society that we live in. But because we look at and down them, you know, just because they're homeless now, but we don't know the struggle. Everybody has a story and a struggle, and we look down on them, and we need to start looking up to them and trying to help these people because, like I said, you only die once, you know, and you need to live every day.
Right. Do you think that people generally look down on the poor because we're a predominantly classist society?
Yeah, that's a lot of this stuff like politics, which I don't get involved in, is a way to divide people, you know, looking down on people because you're higher. I mean, at one point you were low, but not as low as them, you know, and then you made it up. So you should be trickling that down from up top to the people at the bottom, you know. But a lot of people don't think that way until one of their family members becomes an alcoholic or abused domestically or something of that nature. Then, you know, they want to react instead of, you know, being proactive and using good karma, and it's going to come back to you, you know.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I volunteered several times down in Skid Row handing out clothes to men and women, and the people that I've interacted with, many of them are very bright and very well spoken. If they were to be provided with the right opportunity and coaching, they could easily have an office job and support themselves. And most of them don't want to be on the streets, but circumstances just force them into that situation. And I've tried to start a nonprofit for vocational placement and training of, you know, homeless people and working poor and survivors and so forth. But I haven't attained a lot of support because everybody refers me to other agencies that have already been started. But the thing is you need more training than Microsoft Word, you know? I mean, there are already training programs out there offering Microsoft Word and that. And, you know, yeah, I get that people are doing that, but something more where you can actually attain a wage where you can, you know, get yourself out of the hole that maybe you are faced with. Because if you're on the street, a lot of times you have back rent or back bills or debts that you have to overcome in order to be able to just attain a bank account again and be part of society. So you have these financial hurdles you have to overcome. And, you know, it's just insane to me how people always want to just give you an answer so that they don't have to actually help. Has that been something that you faced with raising money and funds to be able to continue helping people?
Right now, last year was really strong for me. Right now, I tried to keep some of that money from last year to use for this year, and I'm down to about $200 right now. And I'm just praying that these grants will start coming in. I'm going to call up a couple and just to check and see, make sure they got the application, because I'm actually out here, one of the people that are actually really doing the work. I'm not bragging or patting myself on the back, but I just love to give and help people, you know, because it's needed out here, and especially in this current situation where you don't know how long we're going to be in this crisis and what's going to happen next. So, I mean, for some lady to not know me and I come and give her a box of groceries and she's crying about a box of groceries, that says a lot during this time, you know.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I've been standing in those lines and talking with, you get to know the people you're standing in line with at the store, and you get to hear people's stories, and it's insane. You know, I myself, and being a nonprofit founder, have invested most of my funds in attending networking events and so forth instead of buying stockpiles of food. So when all of this happened, everybody told me to go out and buy food. I didn't have, you know, a bunch of food stored up. Most people don't have a bunch of food stored up. So, you know, this is kind of putting a lot of people into a financial hardship. They don't know, do I spend the money on food? Do I save the money? Will money be worth money in a while, you know?
Right. There you have it, right.
So what do you need funding for right now? What are the major needs?
I mean, I have a lot of needs. A lot of people are asking for groceries. Today, I'm gonna go bless the lady with Pampers and Similac for her baby. Just the basic essentials to get by, you know, food. Nobody's asked for clothing really, because we're staying in the house and we don't need any new clothes or anything, but it's mostly people are asking for help with bills. We were able to help somebody pay their bills. Today we're going to bless somebody to get medication for their child that takes 20 different meds. The prescription is pretty expensive, and we're going to bless her later on today as well. And, you know, like I say, all our funds are depleted, but we're just doing the best that we can, and I'm just hoping that, you know, more money will trickle in soon.
And if they do declare martial law, will you still be able to maneuver in and out of the streets and give to people, or will that inhibit you?
No, I will. I guess with my status being a first responder, we'll be able to still be able to go out and help those people in need. Thank God for that.
Right. So you have your travel pass.
Yeah.
What are the needs of first responders? I heard that not all of the first responders have an N95 mask and so forth.
I mean, they would need we need masks. What do you call it? The hand sanitizer, Lysol, just the same thing everybody else needs right now. That is falling short on everyone else, but we need it as well. You know, the wipes and, you know, just the basic, the bleach and stuff like that to keep the areas clean.
I ran into a deputy, and I asked what the plans were for the department, because I saw that, you know, the shortages, and I actually found in open source that they've been floating ideas and designs for 3D printing masks that are N95 compliant. So I asked the deputy what the plans were for the department, and she shared with me that they were planning on using gas masks because they don't have a N95 compliant mask. And I looked it up, and the filters on those masks, if they reach their expiration date, won't filter out COVID.
Right.
So the officers are going to be in jeopardy.
Right. And those are the people that you need, you know?
Yeah, I've seen online a lot of calling out. So I wrote to the chief of police in the department, and I said, hey, you know, want to hire me as a project manager? I'll, you know, put together a team and start printing these masks for you, because we need our officers to be safe, you know? I mean, have you seen an outbreak amongst the officers or amongst the homeless community you serve, or?
Yes, actually today, there's a gentleman that's a 73-year-old man that's been homeless for about 10 years. And I went to check on him today, and he told me that a guy was bothering him and, you know, stealing stuff from his tent. And actually the guy was there. So I had to catch myself from, you know, putting hands on this guy. So I said, let me call before I end up locked up and I won't be able to help anybody. So I called them, and they have a task force that helps the homeless. And I've never seen it in action, but I saw it. They called the people. The guy came, and they got him some services, and he was on his way like that in the neck within 15 or 20 minutes. So, I mean, they are out there doing something.
And has there been any outbreak with COVID or with people having this sickness or fear? Have people been more violent?
It said some people in Skid Row, they have a couple people that have contracted the virus there. I don't know how many, but I want to say it was like 10, but I'm sure it's probably more than that, you know.
What are the plans for quarantining them?
I'm sure they probably have to take them to a hospital or a facility where they'll just be by themselves some type of way, you know.
But I've read online that by the end of June, if we don't minimize this, we could have potentially 1 hospital bed for every 10 infected persons. So if that were the instance, what will happen to homeless people? Doctors are having to choose who's going to live. I would assume they'll choose the people with money.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's just the state of our society, unfortunately.
The truth. That is the truth.
You know, so I mean, have you heard, is there a concern amongst homeless people, or do you not have the time to really kind of chit chat with them?
I mean, I've asked them and talked to them. You know, they are concerned about it, and you know, the best thing to do is just inform them of what they can do to, you know, be safe, and you know, that is washing your hands and staying away, and you know, cleaning yourself up, keeping yourself clean, and not touch a lot of things. And a lot of them that I've encountered, you know, are said they're going to start doing that. So we'll hopefully, you know, I visit these people on the regular. You know, hopefully they don't get in contact with the virus.
Yeah. Why is it so important to you to be on the front lines distributing food and medicines?
I mean, this is what I signed up for. As a human being, we should be looking out for each other, regardless of status or officer or whatnot. You know, as a human being, we should be able to love thy neighbor. You know, that's one of my favorite commandments, is to love thy neighbor. You know, and I love everybody, and I want to help everybody. You know, a lot of it's just sad that people don't care about other people unless it's their family member or a friend. You know, like, I don't understand. Like, what's your problem with handing somebody a hamburger when you're buying one, you know?
Well, and even so, even if it's your family member or a friend, people don't always necessarily want to give or be generous. They feel, well, if I have attained this status for myself, why can't you? I worked and I did this, so you can too. You know, we don't live in a very generous society. So what influenced you besides your mother's passing to do this? Care about people.
Like I said, I've always cared about people and seen her interact. I used to go to work with her. She worked at juvenile hall at the time when I was a kid. So I used to see her interact with kids, and she was only 5, 2 or 3, and people were scared of her. You know, I don't know. I was scared of her too, but I'm 6'3", and I'm still, if she was still here, I'm still scared of her to this day. But she installed something in me to just, you know, love people, and she cared about people all the time, and I saw it, and then that's just something that has been with me all my life, and I just carry that with me. You know, I even had a chance to visit 50 states twice, and that really woke me up, because the people, I want to say California probably was the meanest group of people out of all of the states that I visited, and then probably New York was probably number 2, but everybody else was like really helpful. Like, you need this, where are you going? We know you, we can tell you're not from here, you're nicely dressed, and da-da-da-da. And it's just weird and strange that other states are kinder than California, you know. And I could say that because I've been to 50 states twice. And for people in Utah, you know, I met some Mormon kids, and they were just the nicest people, you know. And it's just weird and strange how society acts in California compared to other states, you know.
I agree. I've traveled internationally throughout our country as well. I've not been to all 50 states, but the places I have visited, there is a greater sense of community and of giving and caring than there is here in California. Why do you feel our state is just so kind of callous?
I don't know if it's the Hollywood sign or the people, the celebrity status and people that we have here. That might be one of the things, but that shouldn't stop you from being who you are and being nice to people, you know. Like, I get on the elevator and I see people, you know, not paying attention, and, you know, they don't want to speak, but I make them speak. I say good morning or something to them to, you know, make them interact with me, just to, you know, that person might be having a bad day, and you saying hello or whatever might change their day. From, you don't know what somebody's thinking, you know. I had a encounter when I used to drive a Lyft. Somebody got in the back seat and said they wanted to kill themselves. And I'm like, man, I hope we're not going to do that in the back seat of my car, blow your brains out or whatever. And I was able to get this person help, mental help, you know, and to this day, I still speak with that person, and they thank me for, you know, helping them. And that's what it's about, you know, it's helping people. You never know what somebody's going through.
I agree, and I'm a humanitarian, so I completely agree with everything you're saying. It's very rare, though, to meet other people who actually care about people enough to do as you are doing.
Right.
Why would you feel compelled to act this way just because of your mother's example? A lot of people have had great mothers, but not stepped out to serve humanity.
You know, that's to thank her for doing what she did as a mother, you know, being there for me, never letting me down, always able to talk to her about anything, you know, and just to keep her name alive. This is what I do, you know, to show her the thank you. And this is also my thank you for being on this earth, you know, this long. You know, growing up in South Central LA was a rough time. You know, at times I've been with my friends where people pull a gun out on us. I've been held at gunpoint to my head before, and just to be able to give back and go through all these situations, I have stories I could share with kids like that are going through that and say, well, this happened to me, and you know, you can still make it through this life, you know.
So in those instances, how did you get out of those situations? How did you avoid joining a gang or acting out in anger instead of?
You know, my mom was stay on me. I'll never forget. There was a time in junior high when a friend of mine told me, he told my mom, I'm gonna jump your son into the gang or whatever. And I'm not gonna say what she said, but just say that the guy was like, okay, I'm not gonna mess with you, you know. So my mom was always hard on me, and she wouldn't back down to anybody. I don't care if you're 7 feet tall, like she would still run up on you and bring the smoke to you, you know. And sometimes I used to be that way when I was younger, have her mentality, but as I grew older, I started getting her kind heart, and you know, like I don't want to fight at this age, you know. Like I'd rather be peaceful and sit down and talk to you and let's work this out. But if I have to, I will turn into my Taekwondo brown belt that I've been trained in for years, and I will use that if need be. But I'm not that type of person.
What was your mom's life philosophy? Why was she a good person?
She took risks. She took a risk and came out to California from a little town called Mansfield, Louisiana. She came out here with, I think she told me $300, and had a dream of going on American Bandstand, which she never got on. She was like a dancer. She loved to dance. But she ended up working 30 years plus for LA County Probation Department, where she was able to help people. And I mean, a lot of these people lived in the community, so we'll be driving around and I'm in the car with her and she'll be yelling at them like, you know, you're not supposed to be smoking and doing this out here, you know. And she would stay on these people, and I'll never forget, somebody came to her funeral, a young lady that was locked up in the jail, and she said, thanks to my mom for staying on her, it made her a better person. And you know, I'll never forget that. And my mom was 60 years of age at the time when she passed, so just imagine how long ago that was for this lady to come when she was a juvenile and come to her funeral and just pay her respects to her. And that just stuck with me forever.
So did most officers not care for the kids enough to step into their lives and get on their case like your mom did?
I mean, I'm sure I worked there with them, and a lot of officers did, but not to the point where like she would. Like she would take work home and call these people and make sure that people were doing what they were supposed to do, so they wouldn't, you know, violate or get in trouble. You know, she was the one that wanted you to stay on probation. You know, and that's just like me. I tell these kids all the time when I'm at work, I said, I'd rather you guys do something right and not fill this jail up where I would have to go find another job. You know, I don't like to see people locked up. But I have to work here. You keeping me employed by doing crime, you know. And I said, if you guys stop doing crime, I won't have a job, but I will be happy that you guys aren't doing crime. I will find something else to do, you know.
So you followed your mom's example and you became a probation officer as well?
Yeah.
Oh. And have you seen a lot of kids that you've worked with succeed and move on to having successful careers?
Yeah, so a lot of these kids finally get it. I mean, being locked up, a lot of people think that's the best thing, but I mean, that's like a learning experience for a lot of these kids. You know, it's time for you to think and gather your thoughts and say, you know, I shouldn't be doing this, hanging out, doing this. And when you know it's wrong, you know, to get a quick buck and get locked up for 3 or 4 years for something silly, you know. So, I mean, it's a learning experience for a lot of these guys. And for us, we just have to keep, you know, showing these kids love and show them that people care about them, you know, because a lot of these kids at home don't have that discipline that people stand on them. You know, a lot of these kids are living with their grandparents, which the grandparents don't have control over them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the laws need to be different regarding incarceration for youth? Do there need to be more precautions in place or alternate programs before going into
Yeah,
jail?
I mean, there needs to be like a lot of after-school programs to catch these kids at an early age to teach them right from wrong. You know, like I said, a lot of these parents are working 3 or 4 jobs and they don't have time to sit down with their kids and, you know, help them with the homework and all this stuff. and they need somebody else to help mentor these children that are, messing around doing negative things, and that's when it comes into play of everyone needs to do their part in the community as well, not just ignoring your neighbor's kid if you see him writing on the wall. You need to, back in the day when I was coming up, like my neighbor would tell on me if I was doing something, and they'll beat me, and then my mom would get me, and then, another neighbor see it, and that was like the 80s love, and I appreciated that, and I learned from that. And I'm not saying that these kids need to be beat, but we need to have some type of a new form of discipline for these children to help them understand right from wrong.
Why do you feel the community doesn't engage as much now as before?
A lot of people are selfish, and I hate to be honest, but a lot of people are selfish, and they just don't want to say anything to these kids. And the reverse of that, a lot of these kids have no respect for people, and that's why I say at a young age we need to teach these kids how to have respect for people so they can learn to get respect back. Like you shouldn't be 8 years old cussing out somebody that's 30 plus years old, and that's what's going on nowadays, because these parents allow these kids to play on these phones, and they're going on these pages, seeing people cuss, and then, if they see it, they think it's okay, and the parents need to tell them that's not right.
So it's just that they don't have the supervision and the influence of actually being raised by their parents because their parents are too busy keeping a roof over their head.
Yeah. And I mean, there's not a lot of after school programming and stuff like that. I'm sure there are a lot of kids that are low income that don't have computers at home. That don't have computers at home and all the necessities and things that they need to get by. A lot of kids don't have internet at home. And I noticed because I asked these kids, at my job, like, what are you doing that you're getting in trouble? Like, I don't have any access to computers. I can't find a job. And, everything is online now, and a lot of these kids don't have that. And I'm just hoping and praying that Ellen calls me or somebody where I can get more money to help these kids that are in need. Like I said, I would rather you be successful and do something productive than having me to check on you every 15 minutes on a room check to see if you're doing okay in a jail cell,
So do you think maybe a curriculum for ethics and etiquette and the protocol of socialization being rolled out into the school system would be a benefit for them?
Yes. That and something like a culinary arts school, barber school, beauty college or something like that, because a lot of these kids are not going to go to college. A lot of kids that I interact with at work are too late, past their time to get their high school diploma and whatnot. So they're not going to go to school. So you need to have some form of trade school for these kids, like a body shop so they can learn how to change brakes and all this stuff. Culinary arts, learn how to cook. These type of jobs will be around for a long time. Plumbers, there's nothing wrong with being a plumber. Like they make money, emergency calls all the time. But a lot of these kids are not going to be lawyers and doctors and stuff like that. And I tell these guys, I say, just because you're not a doctor or lawyer doesn't mean you're not a successful person in life. We need every form of job, to survive. You need a plumber because I don't know how to fix pipes. I need a mechanic. I don't know how to fix cars. So we need each other for everything. So that's why installing them, you need to find a trade, either go to school or do something productive with yourself in order to be somebody in this world.
So some kind of trade like being a plumber could basically change the course of their life.
Right.
So that's amazing to know that just a simple curriculum could change the course of their destiny. Do you think that they would be interested in learning programming or graphic design or anything like that? Like, if they haven't graduated high school, what are their technical abilities?
You'll be surprised how many artists come through that jail there. And some good guys, like they could probably work for Disney, like amazing graphics, they can draw. Like this kid drew a picture of me. He looked at me one time and I was off for like a week. I came back, picture looked just like me. And I'm like, man, you got talent and you just wasting your time here,
So it's a matter of them not having access to the appropriate tools to know, hey, you do have a talent and you do have a skill set that you could develop. If you had these tools, you could attain this type of a position, and then that would give them a hope for a better life.
Right, because these kids, like I said, they know about TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, but they don't know where to go to you know, submit their applications for saying that I'm an artist and, you know, tattoo artists. Like these guys that I've seen, like, I mean, amazing type of work, and they don't know what to do with the talent that they have.
So once they're in juvie, they basically just have no hope for having a better life, because there just aren't alternatives that are presented to them. Is that the case?
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. People can, if you are a talented person or a teacher or whatnot, I would suggest you come and volunteer at these juvenile halls, these jails, these domestic violence centers, and, you know, uplift these people, because you never know that what just say an artist comes into a domestic shelter and they see a lady that's just amazing artist, and that will uplift her spirits to know that somebody came in there and said, you know, I work for this place and I can get you a job, and, you know, as a cartoonist or whatnot, you know, like, you never know.
So it's hope. They just don't have hope. They just don't know what else is out there.
Right.
There for them, and their parents aren't able to provide that kind of an example because they're just trying to make ends meet, basically.
Right.
So what are the kids most interested in learning how to do right now?
A lot of these guys like music, making beats, and a lot of them just like to use the computer and go online and search and do different things. Like I said, there's a lot of kids in there that can draw out of this world, and hopefully you get somebody in there that works for Disney or something that can drag some of these kids over to them and help them out, you know.
So the key would be getting them Wi-Fi access at home and getting them some kind of a tablet or laptop, and maybe some kind of program that you have where you're kind of overseeing their ability to enroll in certain courses and e-learning opportunities that they can't do now.
Yes, that's it. Excuse me. Yes, that's it.
Okay. And where does your costume come into play? Do you always wear your costume out on the street? Are you always Spider-Man? Do you rotate costumes, or?
I wear the costumes to the hospital visits for children, and but I started off wearing the Spider-Man costume at Skid Row, and it just caught like an effect right away. Like, they loved it. I would take a picture with the people, and the following week I would come back and bring it to them. You know, and when I wouldn't come with the costume, the guys would get mad. You know, like, where's Spider-Man? Where's Spider-Man? And they, to this day, they still, you know, I don't wear it as much down there, but they still call me Spider-Man. They don't even call me by my first name anymore. You know, just building that, I use that costume to throw you off as a distraction and make you smile, because that might bring you back to your old childhood. You know, like it does to me when I see these movies and stuff. And it just gets you in a comfort zone, and then I'm able to attack and see what I can do to help you. You know, that was my idea of wearing that suit from the get-go, to help people, and it's caught people attention.
What is life like for people out on Skid Row, just for people who have never visited and may not understand?
I would tell everyone to drive around Skid Row just so you can see, like, this can be you, you know, at the blink of an eye or turn of a switch, because this crisis that we're in, people might end up down there, you know, and people need to see firsthand what these people are going through every day. You know, like I said, there's some good people down there. You have your variety of everything. You're gonna have your drug addicts down there, but they use that to cope with the situation that they're in, because they don't know what to do, you know. Like, they get help down there, but not enough help to help them get off the streets. And what people don't understand, and they always, when I post these videos of homeless or whatever, they're saying, why are you doing this for them? Why don't you get them housing and da-da-da-da? But you have to understand, a mentally ill person, I can't just get them a house and then expect them all the furnished house and expect them to know what to do after I leave, you know? Like, you have to, in order to end homelessness, which I always say it will never end because there's so many different characteristics in the thing, but you can put a Band-Aid on it. You know, if you get in an empty apartment building, get these people in there and start and have workers in there building to teach them things such as how to cook, you know, how to use the computer, how to get online to pay your bills and whatnot. Because the average person, if you get them off the street and bring them in the home, they don't know how to pay their bill online. You know, they don't know how to connect to Wi-Fi. Like, they don't know how to use Zoom. They don't know anything. I ran into a lady once in Orange County. She was homeless, but she was working at Jack in the Box. She kept herself clean every day, and she said nobody knew. And she was keeping her pay stubs or checks, actual checks in a shoebox. And I saw it, and she showed it to me, and I'm like, well, you know, these checks going to expire within 90 to 120 days, so you need to put these in the bank. And she said she didn't trust the bank and this and that, but I told her, you know, it's going to be hard for you to, she was saving up to buy a house or whatever. So I said, it's going to be hard for you to, you know, prove that you can afford a house if you don't have any form of stubs or anything in the bank. So I took her to get her license, got her bank account, and I haven't seen her out there since. So hopefully she's got an apartment and doing good for herself, you know. But for the average person that is living out there and sleeping in their car and going to work, there's a lot of people like that, and we don't even know it. You know, you could be working with somebody or living somebody next door that's sleeping on somebody's couch that is, you know, homeless and just working these 30 hours. But it's going to be hard for them to probably adjust back to living in a home again because they're living on the street, you know, and they're getting food, and they don't know how to save properly, and, you know, this and that. That's where I said there needs to be some form of program on these people that are getting housing. Before they get the housing, they need to come to a workshop that teaches them the skills that they need to survive every day, like the basic thing of using the internet, connecting to Wi-Fi, just the basics that they've been out on the street and they forgot or don't even know about yet, you know?
So you think that a lot of people, a large percentage of the homeless population aren't people who had a house or had an apartment and they lost it because they just don't earn enough to retain it, but that they have just kind of grown up homeless or have always kind of been on the streets, so they don't even understand how to pay bills?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't know, would probably send cash in to pay a bill because they don't know that you can pay online or you have to get a money order to pay bills. I've heard of a lady that told me that she sent cash in, and I told her you can't do that. You know, like she's like, oh, I didn't know I can pay the bill that way. And nobody, that's the thing, nobody is telling these people or trying to help them understand that you can't do that, you know? So I'm sure that money that she sent in probably didn't even make it to pay that bill, you know?
So it's a large percentage of the homeless population, people that have been on the streets for 10, 15, 20 or more years, and they just don't know?
I mean, it's a lot of people that have been out there for a long time. There are currently people that are losing their jobs or getting kicked out the house, and they, you know, end up out there because they don't have nowhere else to go, you know? And then that's when, just say, I've seen kids out there as young as 13 to 16, and they're still out there, you know, 30 plus years, 40 plus years now, because, you know, they just got lost in the system down there.
Why would somebody end up on the street if they're 13 or 15 or 16 years old?
You never know what's going on in that household, you know? A lot of kids are,
parents or...
Yeah, I mean, the kids could be getting beat by their parents or molested, and it's a lot of different factors going on in the household. And that's why I say, when I go out there, I try to build a relationship up. I don't jump from the get-go and say, you know, why are you out here? You know, I'll give you food and talk to you, and maybe the next time, you know, you'll be able to warm up. But I try not to just come out there and fire straight at them, you know. I want them to be able to trust me and know that I'm here to help, because you will get people that, you know, why are you out here? And they don't even know you, and, you know, they get upset because they don't want to just give out the information like that. They're still hurt, you know.
What do you mean by hurt?
I mean, it's hard to trust people. If you're 13 and, you know, your parents kick you out, or 16 and you've been out there for a while, and as a kid, you look up to an adult for help, you know, and you see other adults and you're wondering, are you going to treat me the same way as my family member did that I was living with, you know?
So a lot of these people just end up on the street and as kids, and they just never learn basic life skills. So that's why it's hard for them to attain and retain housing.
Right, that's it.
So a program more so for just basic life skills is kind of key.
That's my mom always told me, you survive off of common sense more than you will book smarts. And I believe that, you know, you could be a rocket scientist, but you might walk in the middle of the street when the light is green and not pay attention, you know. Common sense will overrule everything.
I was thinking a program for social etiquette and corporate protocol, so people would know how to interact in the corporate environment, and what would be expected would be a great program to start. But it seems that maybe they need even more rudimentary kind of starting point of just, these are basic life skills.
Yes.
They just don't even know. So you might need to create a test that would be an assessment of what your life skills are to know where your starting point is, because they might know how to use the internet, but they may not know that they need to pay the bill online because they weren't taught how.
Right.
Okay. So, and then a trade school or something like that. So
Yes.
kind of like an extension, a life school extension is kind of needed for kids.
Yes. Especially like after school program. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be twice a week, or even on the weekends these kids aren't doing anything nowadays but playing these video games. I need to get them off of that. It's nothing wrong. I play video games. I used to, and I love it, but you have to get these kids out there to do something else outside of, after school. So just even, like I say, this basic common sense things and giving them stuff, teaching them how to cook and the importance of helping people and the little basics, speaking to people and stuff like that. You'd be surprised how many these young kids that I've gave Easter baskets to this weekend, the first thing they would do was say thank you, and there's a lot of times I'm out here, some people don't even say thank you, and I'm giving you like a $20 bag and stuff, like full of stuff, and you say nothing. And the thing with me, all I want is a smile or a thank you. That's it. You don't have to repay me by giving me anything or money, anything. Just a thank you and acknowledge that you accept the gift that I'm giving you,
Mm-hmm. So you're not looking for a thank you note. You're looking for just a thank you.
That's it. Yeah, and when I went on that 50-state tour, like that was like I'm thank God for my brother that I call Rodney Smith Jr. He's been around the States 9 times, and I'm glad I was able to go with him just 2 times because it was so eye-opening, and to make you see that life is not just about money, and materialistic stuff. It's about loving people and caring for each other. That's what life is about, because you can't take this materialistic stuff with you,
What did you learn? What was one of your biggest takeaways from traveling the country? And is your organization national, or is it just basically for SoCal?
It's for SoCal, and if you need me to come out to wherever, I will. Like I'm willing to go anywhere. Hawaii, Alaska. My next thing I want to do is the 7 continents.
And what's your basic speech for when you travel and you speak at schools or organizations?
I speak at the schools. I will teach them about bullying and being able to find somebody that you can talk to if something's going on at home or if somebody's bothering you at school. That one teacher, find that one person you can talk to and share it with that won't, do you wrong and lead you to the wrong way. Like you have to, like I tell these kids all the time, try to find that one person like my mom that's there for you all the time. There is going to be somebody out there for everybody. You just have to find that person that you can trust,
So is that a major issue in schools, bullying?
Oh yeah, big time. That's been going on since my time, beginning of time, and it's not going to end anytime soon because we have the social media bullying, you have your physical bullying, you have just all type of bullying going on now,
Mm-hmm. And has bullying grown more violent recently?
Yeah. I mean, these kids are just ruthless now because of the punishment that they won't receive. So they know what they can get away with,
So what types of things are happening in schools? What types of things are bullies doing nowadays?
I mean, I've heard them dragging kids into the bathroom, pulling their clothes off. And, just even when I was coming up, a guy that I'm cool with now, he was doing it just to be cool, but he took my bag and they would call us scrubs if you're in the 7th grade. So they would grab your head and they would do this to you like knuckles on your head. And they threw my bag on the tree. So he, I guess he thought I was going to back down. So this guy is 7 feet tall. And I was probably 5'7" at the time. And I just swung on him and I kicked him and I ran because I knew I couldn't beat him, but I just let him know, like, you're not going to bully me,
And do a lot of kids not have the self-esteem to stand up to bully?
Yeah, a lot of these kids nowadays are just scared because they don't know that they can defend themselves if somebody's, hurting them. They don't want to, I guess, tell their parents that this guy's bothering me. Like we have to tell these kids that it's okay to tell somebody, your friend or somebody that, somebody's bothering you, because I've seen stories of kids committing suicide at ages of 7 and 8 years old, and that's pretty sad. Like I would hate to to see that, you know. I witnessed
How does
somebody.
a 7 or 8-year-old even kill themselves? How do they know to kill?
There's the TV and these social media and the phones that they have in their hands at that age, you know.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really insane and sad. I'm a former children's pastor and drama director, so I've worked with kids my whole life, and I've worked with some homeless and disadvantaged kids from domestic violence survivors and so forth, but I've never encountered a child that was contemplating suicide or, you know, had these kinds of issues that they're facing. Do you think that's because of the violence in video games or the lack of supervision?
I don't know if it's good. I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's a video games or whatever. It could be a variety of different things, you know, like the kids could be getting beaten at home for all we know, you know, like parents are alcoholics and they beat on them, you know. There's so many different characteristics that the parents have, or what's going on in the household that we don't know about, you know, and the kid is scared to tell somebody because they know what's going to happen if they tell, you know.
So you think that the key to ending homelessness in a way is after-school programs, getting to the kids and helping them to attain a trade so they can support themselves before they ever end up on the streets, because once you're on the streets, you just can't basically get out.
Yeah, it's hard to, I would say it's probably hard. It's easier to catch them when they're young or, you know, of age where they understand what's going on, because it's harder to catch them when they're homeless, you know, because they're just down in that slump, and then you have to keep building them up, whereas a kid is young and active, you know, you're able to teach them more. But whereas somebody's homeless, it's harder for them to get out of that shell and come back to normal, you know. I have a 73-year-old man that I look after that's just not ready to get off the streets. I mean, he's the nicest guy you ever meet in the world. He just likes to clean the area where he lives. Around that area, he picks up trash and whatnot, but he lost his brother and he lost himself after that, you know, just like me. And I tell this to people, when you lose somebody close to you, sometimes you lose your mind. And I feel that he probably has lost his mind because now he doesn't know who he can trust, and he doesn't want to, you know, live in a house and have to worry about, you know, starting all over again, you know.
I get that. I lost my dad this past summer, and thank you. He was the closest person to me in the world, and I get the whole kind of losing your mind. That's how I started my social justice movement, the ApplePie movement, and the table talks and everything. Is to honor his legacy. So I get why you're doing this for your mom. You know, right. There just comes a time in your life where earning enough money to pay your bills isn't worth being alive. You need something more to live for, and making the world a better place just seems like a good way to honor your parents and their legacy, especially when there's so many people out there hurting who haven't had the advantages that you have and I have, because you had an amazing mom, I had an amazing dad, and most people don't get that kind of an opportunity.
No, not in this time. It's sad, you know.
So a lot of kids that end up in juvenile hall, do they statistically ever end up being productive members of society, or is the statistic more so that they end up just kind of being in the system and in jail as an adult?
I mean, it's just probably, the scale is probably, you know, up and down. There are a lot of people that, like I say, learn from being incarcerated for so long, and there's some people that just think crime is going to pay in the end, and it, you know, and it doesn't, and they end up in prison. You know, there's a lot of good kids that I know that, like I said, are amazing artists that could probably be working for Disney that are in prison right now.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever wear your suit do you just work in the jail, or do you have a program where you actually help kids in jail too?
I just work, you know, in the jail, but I think I'm going to start venturing out and visiting these prisons and using. We also have an art program. A friend of mine is the coordinator of that, and he's a graphic artist. So we plan on taking that to like some of the prisons and, you know, juvenile halls and whatnot, and showing these guys that, you know, you can make money being a graphic artist and making your own bags and T-shirts and all that stuff, because people are going to spend money. So if you have the talent and, you know, and your product is nice, somebody's going to buy it.
So do you think a program after school as well as in juvenile hall, those kinds of training programs is really the key to changing our society forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling these guys that for years. Like, And I mean, I guess I'm nobody to listen to, but that's the way to stop incarceration somewhat. I mean, there's still going to be people that are hard-headed and not listen, you know, but at least you made an effort to try to change these kids, you know, by offering them a
There's a
service.
huge difference between a child who, you know, just kind of wants to be a rebel and just wants to be a roughneck and, you know, go out and do whatever and make a point, and a child who ends up in that way because they don't want to be bullied, or because they didn't have parental intervention, or because they just don't see a hope for themselves of having a better job. Like, have you heard of the El Paso shooter?
No.
So a couple of years ago in El Paso, Texas, there was a man who went to Walmart and he killed several people in that Walmart, and he did that because he wanted to start a race war, because he felt that his job was going to be automated out of existence. So he didn't have a hope for being able to provide for his family. So I don't know why, for some reason, he thought starting a race war was going to help with that. But, you know, I mean, whether you're in juvenile hall or you're a grown adult, you know, hope is hope. And, you know, the ability to pay for your family's bills and keep a roof over their head is huge. And if you have no hope, you know,
I mean, in that portion, I can see somebody going crazy like him, because his mind is wandering and wondering, how am I going to pay my bills now? You know, that's the first thing and thought in his mind. So he wasn't thinking right, but doing that was wrong. But I understand the thought process during that time. Like, what am I going to do? I don't want to be homeless. You know, that's what people don't want to be. So I could see him in that mind state. Just his mind is all messed up, you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of my concern with what's going to happen with our society with COVID. We're going to have so many people. It's going to be, you know, 2008 all over again, but worse, because now we not only have people losing their homes, but people in apartments having their rent deferred that they can't pay that sum back. And then, you know, once you have an eviction on your record, you can't
get any place.
Yeah, so then what do you do? So I foresee a lot of people either killing themselves or turning to crazy alternatives because they think somehow, some way that's, you know, going to save them. So, I mean, do you think a major job initiative is basically needed?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, hopefully this thing will hurry up and end, because if it doesn't, it's gonna get real ugly. It's getting ugly already, but it's gonna get super ugly. You know, I hate this to be honest.
Well, that's actually what my dream is to provide technical training and placement for domestic violence survivors and so forth, because basically we need to identify technical positions that people can learn and be able to grow and move up with and be able to provide for their families, because having these entry-level jobs that, you know, 3 to 5 years from now are going to be automated out of existence because AI is advancing exponentially, you know, that takes a man's hope away. And if he can't pay his bills and provide for his family, what do you have to look for, you know? I mean, it's not a generation or two ago where you knew that you could always move in with your parents because they owned their home, and, you know, now you have parents that don't have a place to live and are in nursing homes and you know, I mean, what do you see happening as the end result of all of this if we don't do things?
Yeah, like I said, it's it's not gonna be a pretty thing, but with this, I just hope it ends soon, because I don't know how, if the government is gonna help and give people more money or whatever, but the people, that little stimulus check that came, that's just probably half of somebody's rent, you know. And that's gonna be gone today as soon as they get it, you know. Like,
well, and that's even if you get the stimulus check, because you know, a lot of the working poor, you know, they do a 06 or 08 or how many ever you can do on your tax return, so that you get the most out of your check. So basically, you kind of, the end of the year, end up owing or end up breaking even. So a lot of the people that are really in the most need probably aren't even receiving very much money at all. So do you have volunteers go out with you? Do you organize teams? Do you have events, or did you have events? Do you have annual fundraisers?
Yes, we have a couple volunteers go. Like I said, we're a small nonprofit, but we get our hands in there and get the job done. We've had several events where we do art stuff for the kids in the community to come out. It's no charge, it's free, and a lot of people have started to come out and enjoy this. So before this even happened, we had an event coming up, and we had to cancel majority of our stuff because of, you know, the virus that happened. But as soon as it opens up, hopefully we can get back to normal and, you know, start setting up events and then trying to have fundraisers and stuff like that. Because without these fundraisers and different type of events, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep reaching into my check, you know, keeping this thing afloat, because it's hard, you know. And I went into my account and helped somebody pay their rent last month. You know, I can't keep reaching into my account doing that for people, you know. And that's why I asked all these people, like, to help me, you know. Like, all the work is there on my Instagram page for you to see. Like, I don't know, I'm not bragging or boasting. I don't know too many people that can do as much as I've done one person individually, you know. And that's because of my mom, the way she installed in me to be that type of person and have the, I guess, Mamba mentality to just do what you got to do and get it done. But to sustain this nonprofit, I need, you know, the funding to come in to help these people that are in need.
So if you were to win some of Ellen's Cheerio money,
what
would that do for you? What would you be able to provide for the community with that?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You, whoo.
Because we're going to tag Ellen. Hi, Ellen. We're knocking on your door.
Yeah, please,
this man needs some money.
Please. I mean, you know, I would try to set. I don't have an office. I do this out of the home. I would want an office so I can try to do some form of after school programming for these kids, you know, on the weekends or whatnot, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Teaching these guys. I have my friend Juan teach these guys about art. Ask them what they like to do, and, you know, encourage them to keep doing what they like to do. That's the thing. These kids nowadays like to do what they like to do. So I need to find out what it is that you like to do and try to excel as high as we can and get you to the top of the level of you being the most productive person you can be in life, you know. And I think if I were able to get those funds, I could help, you know, these homeless, a couple of people get off the street. I can get groceries for these people that are going to be in this crisis situation. I can help these people that can't pay their rent, you know, just to help somebody to stop from being homeless. I don't want any more homeless people out here. We already have 60,000, and that's not counting the people that are sleeping on somebody's couch. That's not counting the people sleeping in cars. You know, they do the census, but they don't count those people. So it's more than 60,000 out there, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, you're going to be considered pretty rich if you own a car that you can sleep in.
Right.
Do you think maybe the city revoking some of the laws, such as suspending driver's license and you can't pay a parking ticket, would help some of these people?
You know, instead of these people that can't pay, give them some form of something to do on the streets, like clean up, like pick up trash or something. You know, if you can't pay your $100 ticket, well, we want you to clean the beach today for 8 hours, you know, and then we have somebody, supervisor out there watching you to make sure that you did it. And at least you didn't make a payment, but you paid a debt to society and somebody else, little kid that comes along and won't pick up that trash and put it in their mouth because you helped by picking up that trash, you know?
Or maybe even volunteering at a community center, having the service hours be there, because now you have whole industries where people that have actual skills have been laid off and might not be able to afford certain, you know, things like a parking ticket or so forth, that, you know, they could volunteer and teach people how to create a resume at a rec center, and that could be their community service. So you think maybe going more that route might help people? Because, I mean, if you're living on the street and you're living in your car and you can't pay for your registration and your license is suspended, and then you get another ticket, and then your car is repossessed or impounded, and then you're really on the street, you know. So it's kind of these certain rules we have are just, you know, making the city money, but if the city can't collect the money and then you end up with a homeless person living on is that really, you know, helping the city? You know, who is behind these laws, I wonder, you know? Yeah. Do we have a lot of community centers or programs anymore that you're aware of, or do they really need to be started?
They have a lot, but I guess, you know, with the funding, they don't get a lot of funding, so they probably have to, you know, shut down, and they can't accept that many people because of the funding, you know. So there needs to be more programming and stuff set up for people. Or
maybe the grant parameters even need to be changed a little bit. I've been talking with a lot of technical school founders, you know, in regards to training and networking with them, and they've told me they've trained homeless people to code that can't attain a job because they were trained with the wrong skill set, because that particular coding language is now obsolete. People aren't hiring for it, but the grant was for that code. So that person couldn't learn another language because the government wasn't funding the program for that. So maybe just kind of like updates and all around the board so that we can really help each other out in a way, move forward.
Yeah.
What is your overall mission statement? Or if there's one thing, if this clip were to be on Ellen or broadcast or advertise, what is one thing that you would want everybody to hear and know? What's your message for humanity?
So like I said, to love each other. At this point in time, this crisis should wake people up. Hopefully it does wake people up. It's going to wake a lot of people up, but a lot of people are going to go back to what they normally would do. But I would say that we need to learn to care for other people. You know, care for yourself first, and then you'll be able to care for others. But stop this selfishness of just thinking that you're entitled and, you know, you're inconvenienced all the time, whereas somebody is doing worse than you.
Mm-hmm. And how can we wake people up who aren't being inconvenienced by this, where, you know, they have plenty of money, their jobs are secure, they live in a nice area, they aren't touched by this at all? How can you wake up people who are completely obtuse and just, you know, are comfortable?
I would ask them to either come out and volunteer, or either, like I said, drive around Skid Row and roll your windows down and just see, drive by there at night and just see how quick, if something were to happen, that you could become victim and become homeless too, you know?
Mm-hmm. So maybe like kind of a mentorship program.
Yeah.
Is that something that you do, where do you take people out with you?
We take kids out mentorship to the museums and different art shows and different activities like that to mentor them into the right path.
So if somebody wanted to go with you to visit Skid Row or visit these kids or do some of the things you do, would they be able to contact you and volunteer?
Yeah, you could just go to our website, www.afuturesuperhero.org, and all the information is there, phone number, everything that we do and offer. And if you have social media, you can follow us on Instagram at @afuturesuperhero, and everything that we've done you can see with your own two eyes, and hopefully this will wake you up and you'll want to come join us.
So can people volunteer with you now to go out now and help people, or do they have to wait until COVID and the quarantine?
Yeah, I would wait until the COVID is over, because I don't want anyone to not follow the orders of the government or mayor or whatnot, you know.
And what do you think martial law will mean if we do end up under martial law? What would you say to people that might be scared or afraid of it?
I mean, if it happens, then you just need to follow the orders and not be hanging out, and get what your necessities, essentials, and just get back inside.
Why would we end up under martial law, do you think?
I don't think we will. To be honest, I don't think we will, because I see them open the government back up soon, because the economy is doing bad right now, and that's the thing. You don't want it to be that bad where people won't be spending money, you know. So I mean, I could see this going until probably the end of May at the latest, but it's not going to get to martial law.
But we do have to curtail the outbreak, right? I mean, if people are infected and nobody is sure how people are contracting this or infecting others, you know, if we were to lift the ban too early, then we could end up having a huge epidemic.
But you know what, too, though? The problem with this thing is you have too many governors doing their own thing. In order to contain this thing, everybody across all 50 states need to get on the same page. You know, everybody, you need to get your essentials from 6 in the morning until 2 o'clock, and then after that, the stores need to shut down. I mean, it's that simple to put the plan together, but you have other states that won't follow the rules and they want to do their own thing. You know, you have so many different governors and whatnot, but you know, the president should be the one to say, well, you guys need to everybody needs to get on the same page. This thing probably would have been over. I'm not saying I'm a doctor or a specialist or anything, but in order to stop this thing, you have to get everybody on the same page. When you got people in Florida partying and we're over here quarantining, you know, they could still come drive over here. There's no law saying that you can't come to California. So that person with the virus could be driving around all these states, touching and doing all this stuff, contaminating things. Whereas if you get everybody on the same page, this will probably stop it earlier, you know?
Mm-hmm. Have you heard about some of the fundamentalist Christians that are having COVID parties
No.
to contaminate each other? Kind of, in the 70s, how people
Oh,
had
yeah. Yeah.
chickenpox parties.
Chickenpox,
Yeah.
yeah.
So some fundamentalists are having COVID parties to just kind of get it over with, I guess, or I don't know what their point is, but what do you?
I mean,
what do you?
just say you get it and your body becomes immune to it or whatever, and just say you get it again and it gets worse. Like, that's not something you should be, having a party and playing around with. Like, we don't know what to do at this point. They say it's a flu. They say it's a disease. Like, you don't know who to believe. But I mean, I don't think having these parties and having these big gatherings and all that stuff is the thing to do right now.
Well, yeah, because I mean, especially some of the theories out there say that once you've contracted it and you're over it, you could be asymptomatic for up to 5 months after.
Right.
So, you could be thinking, oh, well, I'm over it and I'm fine, so I can go back to regular living, and then you're contaminating people, and then that's, how this could end up spreading. So do you think in a way maybe martial law is needed to have some kind of universal order so everybody's going to stay home and hopefully stop spreading this around?
I just hope people will follow the orders. I mean, at this point, I mean, how many times do you need to go to the grocery store just to get out? Like, if there's nothing else to do, just get your food and come back home, and stop being part of the problem. Just do the basic thing that you need to do and get back in the house. And hopefully we can end this thing already,
Well, I mean, with some of the rationing, if you have a family and you can only buy 1 gallon of milk a day, you might need to go to 3 or 4 stores to buy a couple gallons that you might need for the week, so you can just be out that one day instead of the rest of the week. But the gatherings, did you hear a couple weeks ago in LA, there was a 100-member birthday party at a park for a 1-year-old? I mean, that, I agree with you, that needs to stop.
How silly is that? A 1-year-old doesn't even know what's going on. That's sad as adults. That I'm a victim of buying my daughter $1,000 worth of stuff for Christmas. I will admit that I was dumb enough and I did that, but it's an excitement and a feeling of a kid, and you want to give them everything. But with this going on right now, like 100 people party is not the type of thing to be doing right now.
No, not when we need to kind of stop this contamination and everything. So, well, thank you so much for your time and for the interview, and I wish you all of the luck. So how much money do you really need to be funded to really be able to help people?
For this crisis or after the crisis?
For this crisis and after. Do you need 100,000, 500,000? What amount of money do you need?
I mean, 100,000 probably will set me straight for a year or 2 years, 2 to 3 years probably. But I mean, if right now I could just use 50,000 just to start to do what I need to do to help people. I'm not the type that's going to take 50,000 and go buy a new car or nothing. My thing is that I'm truly love to help people, and you can see on my page all the work that I've done, and I hope that will let people know the type of person that I am. Because once you send me that money, I'm going to take it to a hospital where there are kids. I'm going to take it to the homeless. I'm going to take it to somebody in need, because that's my job, and I promised that to my mom on her deathbed that I would do that, and that's what I would do.
And have you begun writing your after school curriculum for the kids, or do you need help with writing that?
Yeah, I mean, I need so much help. I want to do a documentary. I want to do a kids book, but there's not enough time in the day to do anything. I'm working 16 hours some days, and with this going on, I'm trying to help as many people as I can, and it's just a balance thing. But I am gonna get all of that stuff done, because I have
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said I have 5 to 7 more years of working there, and then I will be able to focus full time on this nonprofit.
And what would the message of your documentary be?
I would want to start it from when I was a kid all the way until what I've become now, to show people that don't give up on yourself. There's going to be different circumstances in life, but you just have to keep kicking and keep running, and things are going to happen for you if you just have the mentality of being positive. And that's what my mom said to me every day before and after, and while I'm in the house with her, is be positive, stop being negative all the time. And that's stuck with me all of my life. And I just hear every time somebody says positive or something positive, I hear her telling me that, and that keeps me in a straight line.
What part of South Central did you grow up in?
South Central LA, off of Adams and 27th Street.
Did you go to Garfield High School?
No, I went to Dorsey High and Audubon Junior High School.
And are you close friends with a lot of people that you grew up with still?
Oh yeah, it's funny. A friend of mine just reached out from high school. They saw me on the news the other day, so he saw that I was asking I have an Amazon wish list for I want to purchase toys for the kids at the hospital because they got a shortage on toys. So him and his wife spent over $500 worth of toys, and you know that just almost made me cry because it's good school, high school friend of mine, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he was like, man, I need to, you know, look out for you. You've always been a nice dude and cool guy, so, you know, and I appreciate that. You know, I've always been cool with everybody that I run into from school to the after school, and I really appreciate that.
What do toys mean for children in hospitals?
Man, as a 43-year-old adult, I still play with Legos, but don't tell anyone. But it's it's a happy feeling, like Christmas time, or to get an Easter basket, or just to get a package and open it up and see that toy that you like and to play with it. You know, it's just a comforting feeling, and that's what I try to provide to these kids in the hospital. You know, that are going through this cancer treatment, getting meds every day and sick. And once I come in there with this costume on, my goal is to make you smile and forget about what's going on during that however long I'm there, you know.
Do the parents not have the ability to buy toys for their kids because of the medical bills, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of those bills, and I'm like, man. And luckily, they have programs that you know, help pay for the bill, or they'll cover the whole bill, because I couldn't imagine. And you know, that's another thing. A lot of people become homeless because of medical bills. They rather pay that bill and not, you know, have that on their credit than to become homeless. You know, and then they end up homeless because they can't afford to pay that bill. A lot of people are out there because of medical bills.
Why do you think that medical bills are so much more expensive in the States than in other countries?
I have no idea, but they need to do something about that. Seriously, they need to do something about that, like, as soon as possible. That's part of the problem.
Well, what can be done, really? I mean, to lower.
I mean, I don't know if we could get some kind of free healthcare all the way around or something. Something needs to be implemented. Somebody needs to sit down and come up with something, because I know something can be done. I'm sure other countries have some type of medical plan that is working better than the one we have currently, you know.
Have you seen that one YouTube video where there was an interviewer going around, I think it was London, and she was asking people just walking around on the street how much they thought basic healthcare would be in the United States, and they were kind of guessing, and then they were just astounded to understand that, you know, a certain medication over here would be $300, whereas
right.
in England it would be about $10 or right. some very small amount. You know, I mean, I just don't understand why the same medication is so much more here.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, so basically money just needs to, the cost of living needs to go down across the board, because Americans can't afford to pay what's being charged. From your travels, is rent is cheaper in the other 49 states than here, right? I mean, most people don't need to earn $27 an hour to afford a studio apartment, correct?
No. I mean, the wages are different though, you know, so the rent will probably be a little bit cheaper or whatever, but it's I don't know if when I retire, if I'm gonna stay here or not, because this is ridiculous what we pay out here, you know.
No, it is. It really is. Something needs to be done to lower the cost of living. And I think a lot of it is just because of the luxury high rises, and they have so many vacant units that they were, before this law passed, receiving a tax write-off for the unit being vacant, and just now they're going to be taxed for it being vacant. So hopefully that will help to lower rents across the board in some way. But
I hope so.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you get some of that Ellen Cheerio money. Fingers crossed. Yeah. And I hope you get funded, because you are really doing some beautiful things for humanity, and it's very rare to meet another humanitarian who truly, truly wants to serve the common good of everyone. So thank you on behalf of humanity for what you're doing. You are appreciated. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining another ApplePie Table Talk. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.